And trusting and knowing that the divine presence, the infinite source, is ever available. It is in, through, as us, and around us, and in everyone and in everything, everywhere present. And so just receiving this gift, this beautiful present of the presence, allowing and accepting, being in this place of grace and ease and release. And so I invite us to just release and recognize anything in our lives we may have a feeling about. We can look at whatever our concerns are. We can look at what our hopes are. And just recognizing we are here right now in this very present moment. And trusting that those feelings navigate us. We trust that there is this place of compassionate love for ourselves and for others. So let's take a few deep breaths and feel free to breathe longer on the exhale, just releasing the rush of the morning, releasing any thought of some lists or noise. Now is the time for the quiet presence, this divine essence, to make itself known. So we open our hearts to the sacred now. So let us again take a deep breath in and a slow, easy breath out. As we breathe, we'll practice a simple way of loving compassion for ourselves and for others. It's a beautiful way to remember that even if there are challenges, that there is holy ground. And we stand upon this holy ground, trusting and knowing that we are well supported. So let's recognize, just notice here within you, right now, this divine essence, divine presence. Perhaps a thought, a feeling. If there's some sort of tightness, feel free to release that from your shoulders. Opening your hands and opening your hearts. Perhaps a sense of peace. And simply say inwardly, this too is part of my experience. Recognizing what's real is this sacred moment. So as we recognize, we can also allow it to be. We don't need to fix anything. We don't need to push anything. Spirit is big enough to hold it all. Let the infinite love of God surround what you feel right now. And investigate what this is. Make an inquiry inside. Gently explore what's beneath the surface. And ask with compassion, what does my heart need? Feel your breath. Feel your body. Feel your aliveness. You are safe and seen and supported by the presence. And I invite you to place a hand over your heart and breathe deeply and whisper it inwardly. It's okay, beloved. God is here. I am loved, loving, and lovable. I am whole. And it is with this sense of wholeness and wellness and well-being that we greet this day and greet each other, coming from the sense of loving kindness, this full awareness. And for this I am so grateful, and so it is. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, good to see you again, and just beautiful to be here and be with you. That's really special. I'd like to start with something funny. You ready for that? there was a silver-haired lady, and her neighbor, she called her neighbor, and she says, please come help me. I have a killer jigsaw puzzle, and I can't figure out how to get it started. Her neighbor says, what is it supposed to be when it's finished? And she says, well, it's supposed to be a rooster. According to the picture on the box, it looks like this big rooster. And the neighbor decides to go over and help with the puzzle. And she lets him in, and she shows him the box. And she shows him that all these pieces are spread all over the kitchen table. He studied it for a moment. He looks at the box, and he turns to her. First of all, let's go have some rest. Let's go sit down. I'll make you a cup of tea. And no matter how we try to assemble these pieces, it's not going to make a rooster. He takes her hand and he says, secondly, I want you to just relax and we'll enjoy this tea. Let's put all the cornflakes back in the box. And I love how Candy put on the program, mindful. Is our mind full of things, or are we mindful? And so today's talk is about mindfulness and mindful living. And so, I asked Alexa, how can I live in the present moment? And she paused, which I thought was ironic. And she replied, well, you've been living here your whole life, you just haven't noticed. And I thought, oop, there it is. Anyone have those whoop, there it is moments, those aha moments? And so I thought that the spiritual teacher we've been waiting for is Alexa, the awakened. Maybe she would start by leading a guided meditation and saying, you've got mail from Spirit, right? So, our minds are distracted, maybe not by cornflakes or by Alexa, but there was a Harvard study that says an average person's, and I know we don't have average people here, but the average person's mind wanders 47% of the time, even during enjoyable activities. Does that mean that about nearly half of our life we're missing out? I could be eating chocolate brownies. In fact, I saw the spread coming up the stairs today, and we could be eating those chocolate brownies. I could be thinking about email. I could be watching a beautiful sunset and also planning tomorrow's errands. We live in a world that's built with distractions. Every ping, every buzz, every scroll that pulls us away from living in this present moment, from really experiencing what's real and true. Yet mindful living invites us back to the sacred truth that life only happens now. This moment, this breath, is where Spirit lives. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the founders of the Unity Movement, agree. Charles Fillmore, he wrote, the highest state of consciousness is that of oneness with the source of all good. So we have those experiences of oneness. And then Myrtle Fillmore echoed too, that we need to look beyond those appearances, in essence, those distractions, and see all things as expressions of God. That's mindfulness in unity language. Seeing God in this very moment, at this very moment. So let me help define this clearly. Mindful living is the spiritual practice of being awake to the presence of God in every breath, every feeling, every moment. Now, I'll admit, I try to be mindful. I light my candle, I have my spiritual cup of coffee, my dogs even meditate with me, and I breathe deeply and I center myself. And within about 20 seconds, I'm thinking about lunch, laundry, which I try and do quarterly, just kidding. And one of my dogs, I have 3, one of them, she sometimes looks at me with this disappointing look. She's a Shiba Inu. And they say that those Shibas can memorize 150 commands, but they don't want to. So she gives me this look. So if you've ever felt like you're not good at mindfulness, congratulations. If we're mindful enough to notice that, right? So we can give ourselves credit that we noticed that we're not being mindful. So there's three takeaways we can give you for souvenirs today. Awareness, compassionate presence, and seeing the sacred. So that is mindful living. Awareness, compassionate presence, and seeing the sacred. So what is awareness? It's awareness of the body. It's awareness of the breath. So that's our first practice. And I'm glad we call it a practice because there is that percentage of the time that I'm off somewhere else. Tara Brach, who's a leading mindfulness teacher, psychologist, she authored Radical Acceptance, Radical Compassion. She says that mindfulness is the gateway to the heart. So imagine this gateway opening up to live wholeheartedly and fully even more. Jack Kornfeld, who's her partner, I'd taken this 2-year mindfulness meditation teacher certification, and he's authored A Path with the Heart. He's a co-founder of a Spirit Rock Meditation Center up in the Bay Area, and he brought a lot of mindful living to the Western world. He says we bring attention to the body and we remember who we truly are. So imagine going forward today, just remembering who we truly are, more and more, in as many moments as possible. We can breathe, we can use breath as an anchor. We have a built-in reminder of the breath that's always present. So the practice is, try this, in fact, anytime. Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am home. You want to say that with me? Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am home. So even a few mindful breaths when I'm at a stoplight, Highway 69, which you never know where we're going to be going, right? Before sending an email, I may pause. Or before a conversation, I can reconnect with peace. And it might be peace in my health, wealth, relationships, or even peace with my peace of mind. Or I'll give you a piece of my mind. You know, it could be, right? So if I pause before that and I'm a bit more mindful, connect with my breath, find or discover what's happening in my body. Am I feeling something new, or does it feel like something, oh, this is familiar? So that's number one, is awareness. I become aware. I breathe in and realize I'm here. I breathe out. I realize I am home. The second, number two, is compassionate presence. And Tara Brach gives us a wonderful tool, which we just did. Did you know we just did the exercise of rain? And many of us, I see a lot of heads nodding, are familiar with that. So there's a second practice. And it's called compassionate presence, and Tara Brach calls it rain. And I know we had some lovely rain externally, so now we can have some lovely rain internally too that refreshes. I'd like to buy a vow that refreshes and nourishes and purifies and cleanses us inside. So RAIN is an acronym. It's another thing we get to take home. We recognize, we allow, we investigate, we become curious, and then nurture. So what RAIN means, and it's a wonderful tool, I might do it in an elevator, I may do it before I knock on somebody's door, I may do it before I do a phone call. So RAIN is recognize what's happening. Something is occurring, so I recognize what's happening. And then allowing, I allow it to be. And then investigate, I'm curious, I wonder, I inquire. And then nurture, so I nurture it with love. Nurture myself with love, and then look through the lens of love and lead from that place. So we recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. So if you're feeling anxious, you can begin by saying, anxiety is here. Allow it. Don't resist it. Spirit can hold it. Spirit has such a large capacity of this infinite. And then we can gently investigate, where do I feel this? And then nurture. I can say, it's okay. I know that Spirit is here. I feel nurtured and nourished in this very moment. So I invite you to close your eyes if you'd like. We'll open them again. And I invite you to close your eyes and open your heart for a few moments. And just recognize this very present moment. Something is happening. And just recognizing this something is happening. And feel free to breathe into that as that, recognizing whatever that is. It may be a feeling, it may be a concern, it may be a hope. And then allow it to be. Just allowing it to be there. And investigate with curiosity. Oh, I'm curious. And then nurture with love. And I invite you to open your eyes and your hearts, and just knowing that we can practice this mainly at any time. We don't even have, if we're on the road, we don't need to close our eyes. You know, a lady shared with me that she does this even in traffic, and she says, by the time I get to work, I have been on a full retreat. You know? So beginner's mind is the third practice. We can see life with wonder and freshness. And now for a Zen story. A student visits a master, and the master's pouring the tea, and it just overflows. And the student exclaims, "It's full. It can't handle any more." The master smiles and says, "Exactly like your mind." So again, seeing if we're mindful, full of a lot of noise or lists or planning, just noticing it, not judging it. That's a really great exercise, just noticing whatever's going on. And so mindful living also involves emptying our cup, letting go of any story, any fear, doubt, worry, judgment, so that Spirit can pour forth from within. So that Spirit can pour forth something new. So the ordinary becomes even more radiant because the presence is the moment. Mindfulness isn't mysterious. It's a direct experience of awareness. And we have that in daily life. We're even more aware. And being practical in our spirituality means that we bring awareness to the traffic. We bring awareness to our laughter. We bring awareness to our sorrow. We bring ourselves fully. And so even the dishes, I talked about laundry earlier, but even the dishes I bring mindfulness to. And that becomes a practice as well. So these three spiritual truths of mindfulness are: the presence is always here, awareness is the doorway, and compassion is the path. Mahatma Gandhi says, I have so much to accomplish today. Then I must meditate instead of 1 hour. I must meditate 2 hours. It restores our clarity. Meditation doesn't steal time, but it restores ourselves. It gives us time. It charges our battery. It gives us time back. And so we can be even more loving, even more connected with this infinite presence. So breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am home. Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am home. Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, I am home. You ready for some affirmations to go? If you'll repeat after me, I am present, awake, and aware of the divine in this moment. I am present, awake, and aware of the divine in this moment. Every breath deepens my connection with the source of all good. Every breath deepens my connection with the source of all good. My life is enhanced with open eyes and an open heart. My life is enhanced with an open eyes and an open heart. I live from peace and I share peace wherever I go. I live from peace and I share peace wherever I go. Right here, right now, God is. Right here, right now, God is. So to summarize, those three principles are awareness of the body and the breath. We anchor the presence with a sense of stillness. Number 2 is compassionate presence. We can practice rain and meet life with kindness. Beginner's mind, too, and be curious. It's such a great choice, and we can see the extraordinary even in the ordinary. So mindful living brings us back to sacred truth that life only happens now. This moment, this breath is where spirit lives. So this week, let's practice mindful living, even if it's one conscious breath between sips of coffee or that cup of tea, knowing that that tea is overflowing, and yet there's emptiness as we can release and let be and set free, ready to receive. So this week, and if we forget, I know I forget sometimes, don't worry, just ask Alexa. She'll gently remind you, you are already in the present moment. I'm just here to update your consciousness. Thank you, beloved community. Please know that you're honored and cherished, and let's practice one mindful moment at a time.